Folks, welcome to part 18, where we're going to be learning how to unequip the weapon. So right now I have collected two weapons. If I right click on the weapon, I should be able to equip it to any slot that I like. And if I right click on the weapon again, now I have the option to unequip. So if I click on unequip, I should now have the weapon back in my backpack. Let's see how this is done. Just like how we gave the player the ability to right click on an item on the backpack and equip it, we're going to do the same here. We're going to have the player right click on the equipped weapon and then add it back into the backpack or give the option to drop it. So first we need to create that submenu. So we're going to go to our UI. I'm going to right click on this context menu and I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to name this w_weapon_submenu. Let's open this up. And the first thing I'm going to do is in the graph, I'm going to get rid of this equip text and then also this make literal and all the functions for our onClicked. And I'm going to leave this onClick button because we're going to use it. And for the name, I'm going to delete this and then I'm going to bring my weapon info and I'm going to do a break and then drag the name in here just like so. And in terms of the variables, I'm going to get rid of this name and also slot type and item info. Compile and save it. Then now we create one new variable. This would be our slot number. And we're going to make this of type integer and then also instance editable and expose on spawn. In our designer, we're going to now take our equip button and then rename it so it says unequip button. And then also the equip text, we're going to rename it so it says unequip text. And then also the text inside of it, it's going to say unequip. Now, in terms of the graph, we're going to go to the on-clicked unequip button. And then now we need to communicate to the player that the weapon has been unequipped. So let's get our player character first of all. And then now we need to go ahead and call in a interface function. So let's go to our content drawer, go to our interfaces and open up our BPI equipment and add in a new function. And this would be named as unequip weapon. Let's drag it and drop it onto the equipment. So it's part of that group. And this is going to have two inputs. First is going to be the slot number. And this would be of type integer. And the next one is going to be our weapon info. And this would be of type S weapon info. Compile and save it. Now back in our submenu, I'm going to drag off of this and I'm going to say unequip weapon. And here for the slot number, I'm going to drag in the slot number and plug it in here. And for the weapons info, I'm going to drag in the weapons info and then plug it in here, just like that. And that's it for this function for now. Now let's go ahead and implement this unequipped weapon. So in our third person folder, blueprints, third person character, I'm going to go to the interfaces, BPI, equipment, and then I'm going to right click on the unequipped weapon and then implement this event. Now in our BPC loadout, we have already created the remove weapon from loadout function. So if I search for remove weapon from slot, yeah, this function. Now here for the remove weapon from slot, I'm going to plug in the slot index right here. And then this weapon info, I'm just going to leave it for a second. Let me explain one thing in just a moment. So we're going to drag our backpack in. And here we're going to call add to backpack weapons. And now we need to give in the weapon information. Now you can choose to drag this directly into this weapon info just like so, and it works exactly fine. But at the same time, the removed weapon from slot does the exact same thing. It receives this weapon information and it returns the exact same information out through this just like so. So you can choose to either plug in the removed weapon in here or you can plug in this directly. It's going to be the exact same thing. Okay. Empty index, we're going to leave it as it is. And now we're going to do a branch and then do a condition. And here I want to go ahead and refresh my backpack, add my UI. So I'm going to copy this to refresh functions and plug this in here just like so. All right, so now we need to create our submenu. For that, first let's do the right click mouse event on our actual weapon slot. So let's open up our weapon slot, go to the graph, and where we have functions override, let's go ahead and look for on mouse button down. Let me pull this out just so that I have some room. And off of the mouse event, I'm going to search for is mouse button down. And then click on this keyboard and then I'm going to right click on my mouse and that's going to capture the right click. And now I'm going to add in a branch and then do a condition just like so and then connect this to the branch. And also I'm going to drag off of my mouse and I'm going to say get the screen space. And also get mouse position scaled by DPI. Now this is a vector 2D and I need to add this screen space to our mouse position. So we have to make this X and Y into a vector 2D. So we can just search for make vector 2D. And then I'm going to plug the X into X and then the Y into Y. And now I'm going to drag in this screen position and I'm going to do an add and then plug the return value here just like so. And here we want to communicate to the backpack via a interface function. So back in our BPI equipment, we're going to create a new interface function. And this would be create sub menu weapons. Drag and drop this onto the equipment. And this is going to have 4 inputs. The first one's going to be our slot number of type integer. The second one is going to be the weapon slot. So this would be the actual weapon slot widget itself. So it's a reference to self, right? Next one is going to be our weapon info of type sWeaponInfo structure. And the last one is going to be our mouse position, vector 2D. Compile and save this. Now back in our weapon slot, off of true, I'm going to say get all widgets with interface, and this would be our BPI equipment interface. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go for create submenu, and I'm going to get the weapons message. Make sure it's a message, and then connect the execution pin just like this, and then found widgets into the target. The slot will be in from our variable. We're just going to drag it and plug it in here. And for the weapon slot, we're going to go ahead and get a reference to self. For the weapons info, we can drag this variable in just like so. And the mouse position would be this right here. And now plug this into the return value. And here the return value, we're going to return as handle. Alrighty. Now, the last piece of the function is for the backpack main. So in our backpack main, we're going to go to our interfaces and then BPI equipment, and then right click on this create submenu, and then we're going to go ahead and implement this. It's going to get implemented into the event graph. So I'm going to go ahead, Control X to cut it, go to my loadout graph, and then I'm going to Control V to paste it here. The first thing that we want to do is to clear our context panel. The context panel is where we are creating all of the right-click widgets. So if there's any other right-click widgets on the screen, we want to first get rid of it. So to do that, we're just going to go ahead and call in the clear children on the context panel and plug this in here as so. And now we're going to go ahead and create the widget. And this would be our weapon submenu. Weapon info, we can just plug it in directly just like so. And the slot number, we're going to plug it in here just like this. Next is we're going to drag in our context panel again. We're going to do a get, and then we're going to say add child to canvas panel or canvas. Plug the execution and then also plug in the return value just like this. And now drag off of this return value and we're going to go and say set position. Now the set position requires a vector 2D. First, we need the local space of our canvas panel or our context panel. So we're going to go ahead and get the cached geometry. And this, we're going to make it into a local space. So we're going to go absolute to local. And we're going to plug in the return value into the in position. And for the absolute coordinate, it's going to be our mouse position. All right, now we can go ahead and test it to see how this functions. So if I press play, go ahead, pick up a weapon. Let's pick up 2 weapons. I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to equip. The spot's going to highlight, so I'm going to click on the top slot. And then if I right click on this weapon, I have the option to unequip, and I also have the name of the weapon correctly. So if I click on unequip, the item comes back into my backpack. Same thing, I'm going to equip my AR4 here, equip my pistol down here. I have no other weapons. Right click on this AR4, it should say AR4. And then now I can unequip this and then also unequip this just like so. So one little issue that I want to fix with this is that if I unequip a weapon and there's an empty slot, I'm still able to right click unequip that empty slot into my inventory just indefinitely. So I want to eliminate this from happening. So let's go back into our weapon slot and we're going to do a quick check here. Just before we create our actual widget, we want to get our weapon info and then break it. And let's make sure the name is not equal to nothing. So we're going to do an exclamation mark, and then that's going to give me my not equal. And then this, and then leave this as blank. And then do a branch here and connect this to the true, and then connect this to the condition. And we can connect this to true. What this is going to do is it's going to check to make sure that the weapon is actually defined before we can actually right click on it. Now, if I go ahead and play this, open up my inventory, and if I right click on it, I don't have the option to unequip here anymore. But if I go ahead and pick up a weapon, and then if I equip it first, now if I unequip, then I have the option. And I, again, no longer option to unequip this empty slots anymore. So alright folks, so this is a really quick video on how to unequip the weapon, and I really hope that you like it. If you do, a like and a subscribe to the channel would be really, really grateful. I'll catch you all in the next video.